Joining me now to discuss President of American Principles Project, Terry Schilling, also with us, reporter and host of the Trad-ish podcast with the Daily Caller, Mary Rook. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So, Terry, I know you just had another baby. This makes what? How many? 7?
Yeah, we're up to 7. That's right.
Yep, 7. Magic number 7. I remember. God bless. Gorgeous family, by the way. So the fact that Kamala Harris and Walz both believe in abortion up until birth, this is frightening. And, you know, people will say, well, late-term abortions, which they say is not even real, but late-term abortions account for 1% of all abortions. It's about 10,000 abortions of late-term, fully viable, a year. And we're not talking about in the case of non-viability, the child can't survive outside of the womb. A lot of these can be for other reasons, and also not just for the mother's life is in danger. So talk to me about their radical approach to abortion, because most Americans, they don't align with that. They actually believe that, okay, to be pro-choice, but there should be limits on abortion.
Well, listen, Kamala Harris, and thanks so much for having me, Lydia. Kamala Harris is one of the most radical politicians we've ever seen, not just for the Senate, not just for AG, not just for the DA, but for the presidency of the United States. This is a very powerful and serious office that has a lot of control and sway over these public policy matters. But she supports abortion up until the moment of birth and even after, and she also supports taxpayer funding of it. But on top of that, Lydia, this is someone that is so anti-family that just not that long ago, she was advising the next generation of Americans to not have children to combat global warming. Right? This is someone that's radical. I'm going to have two or three more kids if God blesses me just to spite her. Right? This is a terrible person who wants to take away parental rights and indoctrinate our children into hating our country, hating God, and hating their families.
And Mary, Kamala believes also in limitless genders, so therefore she's anti-God because she thinks, poof, you can just inject yourself or say you're this or say you're that, and you're automatically a cat or whatever, a kangaroo. I also want you to check out her website if anybody wants to work for her. I highly doubt anybody in our audience wants to work for Kamala. But hey, this is, in case you're wondering, you have 9 pronouns you can choose from. So when you upload your resume to work for the Harris campaign, you can call yourself either he, him, she, her, they, them, z, them, z, here, em, her, who. I'm sorry this is real. This is real, Mary. What are your thoughts on this? And then I'll get your reaction, Terry.
You know, I think that we're at this precipice in our nation where we have to decide whether or not parental rights and whether or not, reality and the way God made us is the way that we're going to move forward, or if we're going to continue with this nonsense. I think there's a lot of pushback from parents to say we absolutely control the lives of our children. We control their destinies, and we want them to become, fruitful and prosperous. And whenever you have a campaign that is willing to put and subject children to this type of ideology that sterilizes them, maims them, sends them on a path of depression, anxiety, rather than uplift them and teach them that there is a great future ahead of them as long as they, kind of stay the path and they work hard and they do all of these things that traditional Americans have done for, centuries. I think that whenever we are telling children that you can pick any type of gender that you want to pick, that you can be all of these other things, that we negate the possibilities of their true future, which is you can be anyone you want to be. That doesn't mean pick your gender. That means choosing a career, being a mother, being a father. Taking place in this American dream that we have been able to be given throughout all of these decades of our country. And the way that Kamala Harris goes about it is that she laughs and, she kind of jokes around about this, and she has drag queens at their show. But the demonic force behind it is what really parents need to be fighting against.
Terry, we have less than a minute left to go with what Mary's saying. You have Governor Walz, her VP pick. He signed a law into legislation basically making Minnesota a sanctuary state for trans kids, and that if you refuse to mutilate, to castrate, to sterilize your child, that the government can take away your rights as a parent. The government can seize your child and mutilate them for you. So talk to me about how radical that is.
Well, Tim Walz and Kamala Harris are absolutely radical. Kamala's from California, and there's a very similar law there where parents can lose custody if they want to protect their children from the trans industry. This is not a trans sanctuary bill for trans people. This is a sanctuary bill for the transgender industry, which is a $4.4 billion industry between the surgeries and hormones. That's what's really driving all this insanity, and that's who they're really protecting.
We got to leave it right there. Terry and Mary, thank you both so much.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.